Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Weather on the Go. My name is Hunter. We're tracking the weather in the short term. That could include some severe weather and flooding. We're also checking out our temperatures over Memorial Day weekend and going into June as well. We're going to be looking at our temperatures, our precipitation, our severe weather forecast. So if you are here, you know what to do. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, and share this video with friends, family, and on social media. I definitely appreciate it. Let's look at our temperatures we had this afternoon. Very pleasant here, and really three seasons we did see across the U.S. To the south, we saw summer across the Gulf Coast, and up here into portions of the Northeast, in contrast, we saw a fall afternoon with temperatures into the 40s and 50s, spring in between across portions of the Midwest, into the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and up into the Pacific Northwest. A lot of those areas seeing temperatures in the 60s and the 70s this afternoon. Now, we are seeing the potential for severe weather as we go deeper into the overnight hours here and into the wee hours of the morning on Saturday. This is a level 2 out of 5 slight risk in yellow, level 1 out of 5 marginal risk in dark green, and this covers a large chunk of the plains states, and this does include the potential for some big hail up to apple size here from northeast Colorado, south and eastbound into western portions of Kansas, into northwestern Oklahoma, and eastern Texas panhandle as well. Be keeping tabs on that. We also could be seeing localized wind gusts up to hurricane force, upwards to 80 miles an hour, as those storms really mature and move across northeastern Oklahoma. So that does include the Tulsa area and near Stillwater, Oklahoma City. And then looking at the threat for some tornadoes as they initially evolved there in northeast Colorado, 5% chance of tornadoes in Brown, 2% chance of tornadoes as that complex matures from Kansas down there into portions of Oklahoma overnight. Now looking here at the storm setup, this is 8 o'clock here this evening. Isolated supercells developing here in northeast Colorado. That's why the tornado threat is maximized at 5% up there. Those isolated supercells could drop a tornado or two. And then as we go into the late evening hours, we're watching some of those storms as they evolve into western Kansas and into southern Nebraska. A few of these could be bringing those damaging hail reports, apple size at most, 60, 70 mile an hour wind gusts, and a couple isolated tornadoes remain possible. After midnight, we're going to see a cluster of showers and storms. This could bring hurricane force wind gusts. This is what we call an MCS. This is a complex of storms, kind of a bow echo. And you see a backward C shape on here. That is the wind pushing the rainfall forward, and definitely could be seeing some pretty strong winds with that across the Tulsa metro area, maybe near and just east of Oklahoma City, including the Stillwater area. And then as that goes into portions of western Arkansas, Fayetteville, and down there into Fort Smith, keeping a very close eye on that. That won't be knocking on your door until between 3 a.m. and about 7 a.m. Saturday morning. So this will be a very early arrival and some definitely strong thunderstorms there. That is for sure. Now here's the maximum updraft helicity tracks. This basically shows you where the strong updrafts will be. And if you have a strong updraft, you can correlate that to the hazards these storms could be bringing. Damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes, something we're keeping a close eye on. More of a tornado threat here in northeastern Colorado, evolving into a damaging wind and hail threat with some embedded tornadoes still possible as they move through Kansas and into northeastern Oklahoma during the wee hours of the morning on Saturday. Speaking of Memorial Day weekend, we have to be watching the radar and have multiple ways to receive severe weather watches and warnings. Severe weather is possible from Texas into much of the Sooner State and Razorback State of Oklahoma and Arkansas. Back here into Mississippi and Alabama, we need to be on high alert. This is a 2 out of 5 slight risk here on Saturday. Going into the Saturday time frame, we are watching the potential for, again, baseball size hail potentially being possible here into Oklahoma, down into northwest Texas, including parts of the southeastern Texas panhandle. We are watching the potential of 70 mile an hour wind gusts and some tornadoes. The tornado threat here is mainly Oklahoma City, Lawton, Fort Sill, down here into the Wichita Falls area, and a 2% chance in green extending into Little Rock, Pine Bluffs there into Tupelo, and even into the Birmingham area into Alabama. We'll keep an eye on that. A lot of instability here to the south of the boundary, up to 4,000 or so joules per kilogram is going to really get the air to rise, and that's going to create those cumulonimbus clouds. that then give us thunderstorms that could be severe. Ongoing storm activity, complicated setup as we go into tomorrow. This could be evolving into an MCS, again, a backward C shape. This is going to give us a lot of wind and potentially some hail and tornadoes. How that evolves through the day will determine if we do see additional storm activity in very similar areas overnight, and that could bring a renewed threat for severe weather back to Kansas, northeastern Oklahoma, into southwest Missouri as we go into the overnight hours, and a flooding threat as the vectors, the storm propagation is really over the same areas, and this is really going to heighten the flooding threat as we go into the day on Sunday. Speaking of Sunday, May 25th, we continue with a slight risk, very similar areas, the front and the boundary moving just slightly further south. So we're still looking at Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas again, Mississippi into Tennessee, and Alabama specifically on Sunday. And then Memorial Day, again, shifting it just a little bit further south. So we're talking central and east Texas, parts of north Texas there as we go into Memorial Day. Before it's all said and done, repeated rounds of showers and storms will be heightening the flash flooding risk across the portions of the deep south here. We could be seeing rainfall in the tri-state area here of Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas upwards to 8 inches, and that is why the Weather Prediction Center for tonight into tomorrow has a slight risk for flash flooding there into Kansas, eastern Oklahoma, southern Missouri, and much of Arkansas. That really gets a little bit higher and ups the ante on moderate risk on Sunday. Similar zones, Tulsa up there towards portions of Joplin and Springfield, Missouri, and into the Fayetteville, Fort Smith area, keeping a very close eye on that. Memorial Day shifting a little bit further south, slight risk there from northeast Texas to middle Tennessee, and then Tuesday sprawling out with a large broad brush marginal risk of flash flooding there on Tuesday from Texas all the way to the mid-Atlantic. So long story short, very heavy rain is going to be expected as we go through Memorial Day weekend in those areas. Now, let's look here at the Memorial Day weekend worth of temperatures, and we have the coolest of our air across the Northeast here. I know you probably don't like to hear that because it's been very cool the last couple of days. Here are our temperatures going into tomorrow afternoon on Saturday, May 24th. We see 40s, 50s, record low high temperatures again for Maine, much of New Hampshire, Vermont, and upstate New York. Warming up near 70 back here in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and then there's the summertime heat down here in Texas, triple digits in West Texas, 90s in East Texas and along the Gulf Coast, including Florida, some record highs there around Orlando. And then actually sub 100 at 98 in Phoenix as we go into tomorrow. We're right back there to 98 in Phoenix on Sunday. There's the heat again, 90s across the Gulf Coast. Starting to warm up in the Northeast on Sunday, up into the 50s and 60s. And then by Monday, Memorial Day, finally, look at great barbecue weather for the Northeast. I don't care if you live in New York City or Boston, you're going to be in the 60s at least as we go into Monday. And look at the heat down here. Yes, it'll still be in the triple digits down in South Central Texas, but the Dallas area, low 80s, 82. 71 there in Amarillo. We'll take it across the deep south as we go into Monday. That is for sure. Now, the final few days of May will present a lot of cooler air across the central and eastern U.S. simply because we have a lot of active weather and a trough moving through. A ridge beginning to build across the southern Canadian prairies, more of Manitoba and into Saskatchewan, and then into the Pacific Northwest will promise warmer than normal temperatures, and our temperature anomalies the last few days of May could be spiking 25 to 30 degrees above normal. And there's all the precipitation that's going to be keeping us cool. Cloud cover, rainfall, thunderstorms, that will keep us cool down here above normal precip for the deep south, along the Gulf Coast and up there into the mid-Atlantic. And that's where the rainfall really is. In fact, there could be a corridor here from eastern Kentucky through West Virginia into northern Virginia and Maryland and Delaware. Actually, we could be seeing a widespread 2 to 4 inches worth of rainfall there the final few days of May for a specific area. So we're looking as we go into the first week of June, ridge really begins to build across the west. That promises warmer air, weak signal for a trough out east, and there's the cooler air signal with the blue, and that's below normal, at least by a handful of degrees. The warmer air, again, focusing across southern Canada and into the Pacific Northwest and then down here into the desert Southwest, and then going into that same time frame, again, the active weather. We love this look for Florida. because they've been dealing with significant drought lately, and this is going to be giving them above normal precipitation here, whether or not it's tropical induced or not. Definitely going to be looking at that in early June. And June overall, the 30-day average, the ridge is really going to begin to build across the west, especially for the south central Rockies, and then the warm-up really starts to get underway here. So Denver, Albuquerque, Salt Lake City up to Cheyenne, Helena, and the Billings area in Montana really going to start to heat up as we go through the middle of June toward Father's Day weekend. Now, looking here at the mean, we are seeing a drier trend for the plains and out west here into June for that 30-day average. Garden spots could be the eastern U.S., especially the eastern ag belt for farmers. And then into the southeast with some tropical induced precipitation. The control run is a lot wetter here in the central and northern plains and the upper Midwest, and we could use some of the rainfall for our farmers in the western ag belt. But look at the control run for the Pacific Northwest. Very dry, especially up here into southwestern Canada and then down into south central Texas, where Florida continues to see above average precipitation. So which one of these wins out will be the biggest guess at this point. Again, this is still several weeks out from happening, but something we're going to continue to watch and trend for as we go into the middle portion of June. That is for sure. Thank you all for watching. I do appreciate it. If you did enjoy it, make sure to give it a like down below. Comment any questions you may have and subscribe to the channel. I definitely appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next video.